As always, I hope that some of you have tried implementing the rest of the didBeginContact method with our other cases on your own. We will now do it together in case you do still need some assistance or you just want to see how we would usually do it. We are missing 3 cases: contact between 2 blocks, contact between a block and the edge, and finally contact between the bird and the edge. Let's add them in this order. So let's start with the case physics category dot block bitwise or physics category dot block. So contact between 2 different blocks. What do we want to do in this case? Well, basically exactly what we did when colliding the bird with a block. So impacting the block nodes with the collision impulse to damage them. It will be a little different though, since we do have 2 blocks that we need to impact here, which will then not be an if-let and else if-let statement that would just impact one node. Instead, we will define 2 separate if-let statements, beginning with if-let block is contact.bodyA.node as block. And if we get a value, we will call block.impact with the integer value of contact.collision_impulse to damage the block. I want to also impact the other block from the body B by writing if-let block is contact.bodyB.node as block. And then call the exact same thing. So let's just copy it from here and paste it there. Alright, our blocks are now also able to damage each other when they fall on each other or collide with each other in any way. Next will be the case for the contact of blocks and the edge. So let's add the case physics category.block bitwise or physics category.edge. For this case, where we only want to damage the block node, I can pretty much copy the part where our bird collided with the block, since it just determines which node is the block and then impacts it accordingly. So let's just copy this over here. And the last case I want to check is physics category.bird bitwise or physics category.edge. In this case, I said that we only wanted to set the flying property on our bird to false, so that we can later check to either run a flying animation on our birds or not, depending on whether they are still flying or not. We do not have to use a construct such as this one here, since we do need to know which node is our bird. But we can also just use the bird property from our scene itself to manipulate the bird. Since we only have one bird at a time in the game, I can just write bird.flying and set it to false. This concludes the solution for the little challenges, and I really hope you gave it a go. We have now implemented all the physics contacts that can possibly happen and should be handled in our games as of now. If we take a look at our didBeginContact method, we can see that we've basically written the same exact code twice for 2 different cases. So the case is bird and block and edge. And that's just not really great programming style. Each time we just check for the block node and damage it. We could therefore just combine the 2 and clean our code up this way. So let's, after the case bird or block, after a comma, add the case from below here. So I can just copy and paste it. And this means that the code for this case gets executed for both these contacts. And I can therefore add the redundant case down here. In Swift, we can just specify multiple cases for one piece of code, which is really convenient. And we can now react to these contact masks with the exact same handling. For the contact between 2 blocks, we will need our separate case since this code is a bit different. And we need to damage both contacting nodes or colliding nodes. The third case is completely different, but also really simple, by just setting the flying property to false. We do not really need this as of now, but it will come in handy later. So since we were already editing this method, we might as well already add it. If you do have any questions or problems concerning this small challenge, feel free to ask us in the comments or even post your solution if you did it differently and want our opinions on the way you did it. We will now continue by exchanging our plain colored block nodes by actually using textured sprite nodes that show actual wood, stone, or glass blocks, which will look a lot more like an actual Angry Birds game. And we can then start building our cool level scenes.